Hi everybody, welcome back to Mr. Green's Cannabis Grow Day 43. Alright, so today we're going to do some feeding. We're going to feed both the soil plants and we're going to add water to the hydro tank. So that ought to be a pretty cool experience. Let's see, so I wanted to go over a few things first. I told you guys I'd print out that paperwork and stuff for the feeding charts and for the conversion chart, right? So I actually have a conversion chart. I don't know if I really discussed this with y'all so much, but I have to convert for scale, right? So my equipment, my meter, this guy right here, reads on a 700 scale, right? And this chart right here for my hydro tank reads on a 500 scale. And what that does is it messes with the readings for parts per million. Now the EC, no matter the scale, reads the same. And the conversion is kind of, it uses the same parts, right? Salinity and parts per million to create the EC. So it's kind of an interesting little deal the way that that works, but I have to have the conversion chart just to kind of make sure that my parts per million is where it needs to be and then my EC is reading correctly. Okay, so let's look at the charts so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's get on this guy. This is the hydro chart. There we go. This chart is a week by week chart. You can see how much food you need to have in there. You can see what the EC needs to be. You can tell that it reads on a 500 scale. You can see the total nitrogen parts per million. I don't really ever use that. So you can see the growth stage and where they need to be, right? So I use that, okay? And I'm using the aggressive feed chart, okay? And then over here is the conversion chart, okay? There you go. And you can see that. It reads EC to the far left. And you'll notice that no matter what the parts per million is, the EC is the same, okay? And then over here, this is my soil feeding chart by Fox Farm. The other feeding chart was General Hydroponics. This is my Fox Farm feeding chart. I stay on week 4 even though, we are on day 43, which puts us on week 6. We're in week 7, right? So day 43, but I'm still in veg, right? Everything after that is for flower. So we're going to stay in week 4 until I'm ready to move into flower, which is coming up here pretty quick. So there's that. Okay, so those are the charts that I use to feed the plants, all right, and make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be. Okay, so we're gonna get into feeding right now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and fill these tanks up, and we'll go into part 2 feeding. But I'll let you guys stick around for this. And just because I don't know how many times I've shown you guys an actual fill of the containers. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and these are RO water filled already. So they already have the RO water in there. Let's go ahead and add the food and then we'll cut away to feeding. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. Okay. So with this guy, we are looking at 3 of the big bloom. Okay. And we got 2 of these. It was a little light on the big one, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. And I'm going to add some calcium and magnesium. And I'm going to do just over a half a teaspoon of the CalMag. Okay. And then shake that up a little bit. I have done this a few times already, and every single time I do it, I end up needing to add a little bit of pH up. So I'm going to add some pH up. Just a little bit. This you have to kind of figure out on your own, but usually it's just a few drops is enough. pH is kind of an interesting deal. Just drop that in there. That should do it. And we're going to get a reading out of this real quick and see where we're at. Put this down back here. But first I have to shake it up. To make sure it's good and stirred up. And then I'm going to pull out my pH meter. Now that conversion chart doesn't have to do anything with pH. pH is always what pH is. Alright, and it's reading at 6.4, which is okay for me. Soil plants, I don't mind if the range is a little bit higher with soil plants. Sometimes it helps them get in some of the other nutrients that they need. So 6.4 will be okay. If it's not, we'll find out. But I'm sure it'll be just fine. Shake that up a little bit more. Set that down here, and now we're going to get onto this guy. Now, this says that per gallon, we need to be doing 3 teaspoons of this. Two teaspoons. Where'd it go? Oh, guys, I'm missing one. Hold on. I have to find it. And 1 teaspoon of that, at least. I know that. Oh, there it is. It's the one I'm holding in my hand. And this one right here. So, that's silly, right? So, 2 teaspoons, 3 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons, and 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to do 5, 3, and 1.5, because this isn't quite 2 gallons, okay? Let's get this guy. One. I gotta count these out. I think I miscounted when I was doing it. When I was doing the soil fluid. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's that one. This one's always messy. I don't know what's wrong with this bottle. Something with the factory design or something. Every time I spill a little bit. 1. 2. Pretty good so far. Those village. Spillage. 3. And we're going to do 1.5. This one. All right. Okay, and then we're going to check the pH and see if I need to add some pH up. Okay, so we did 5 of the Flora Grow. We did 3 of the Flora Micro, and 1.5, maybe a little more, of the Flora Bloom. Okay? Alright, and then we're going to check the pH. Let's get these out of the way. You know what else I definitely want to add before we do that? Let's add the CalMag, because we don't want to forget the CalMag in this water. And I am going to add a whole teaspoon. Okay, so that's definitely in there. Okay. Alright, now let's test this out. And I know it's probably hard to see from there, so I'm going to tell you where it's at. I'll bet it's probably pretty close to perfect. .1 is where it's reading, which is perfect. Alright, I'm going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to try to read it again, because we didn't really shake it up. Let's try that again and see where it's at now. Yeah, it dropped down quite a bit after I shook it up. I kind of figured that might be the case. 5.5. I think we shook it up. See, and that's the difference. 5.5. Alright, so we're going to use some pH up. Sometimes this is not a perfect science right off the bat. So you have to try a little, and if it doesn't read where you want it to, try a little more. If I go up too high, I'll have to go get the pH down and pH down. I am usually pretty good about not having to do that. So wish me luck. We're going to try to get this done in probably 2 shots. Let's give that a really good shake. And try the pH reading again. Five 8, 5 7, 5 8, 5 7. We're going to do a little bit more. 5 8. 5 9. Okay. I'm still probably going to do a little bit more. 5 9. All right, a little bit more. A little bit more of the pH up. That's more than I want. How do I do it? All right, we're gonna give this another shot, see where we're at. Okay, let's check it out. Six oh now. Right in there and let it sit. Six 6.0. Okay, so that's pretty much right where we want it. That's good enough for me. We're going to cut out now into part 2 here in a moment. Thank you guys for joining me for part 1. That was the charts, the EC charts, parts per million, and pH and all that other good stuff we got in there. And we got in a good feeding, right? Or we got in a good food making process anyway. I'm going to walk you guys into part 2 of the feeding here in a moment. Thank you guys for joining us. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. I'll see you in a moment. Bye-bye.